Hello, everyone. Welcome. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you're joining from today. Hi, all. So we have the team joining. We'll just wait for a couple of minutes to have a few more people join in as well, and we'll get right into the Q&A. I would request everyone to keep yourself on mute in case you're not speaking. Also, please feel free to use the chat function to introduce yourself. Specifically, I think your name, where you're joining from, and also if you'd like to share your LinkedIn profile, this is also a good opportunity to network with your colleagues as well, just as we answer some questions today regarding the Executive Fellowship Program. So please feel free to do that. We're going to have folks who keep joining basically around the hours. Great. Here we go. And this session is being recorded, and we'll make the recording available to the community also online. But I do want to share with everyone that this is going to be quite informal. And really the purpose is for us to answer your questions and queries while we kind of share a little bit more about the program itself. All right, so we'll keep letting folks in as they join. We're 2 minutes in. I just want to formally welcome everyone. My name is Navroop Sahdev. I'm the founder CEO of the Digital Economist. We're a Washington, D.C. based think and do tank. And this year, we're very excited because we are expanding the community of fellows in our Center of Excellence on Human-Centered Global Economy. So our mission is really to build humans first and life-centered systems first as the basic premise of economic development, but also technological development as well. So today I'm joined by two of our senior fellows, Bruce Armstrong Taylor and Jose Carvalho, who are joining us from US and Europe respectively, and two of our fellows who are early career professionals. Océane is joining us, as well as Monti. Monti's joining us from UK and Océane from Copenhagen. So we have kind of geographically focused and distributed team as well. The idea of the session today is really more to answer the questions of the community. Many of you have applied to be part of the program. We've received your applications. We see some familiar names as well. So welcome again. Instead of kind of going into the slides or anything of that sort. So we won't take up too much of your time, but we'll basically start to invite you to ask questions right away as soon as we kind of finish the introductions. So maybe I can just start with Bruce and Jose, Océane, and Monti just to anchor you, kind of share maybe one highlight of the program. There are current fellows as well with all of you to kind of, again, set the stage for, a Q&A session today. So Bruce, over to you.
Hey, now I have audio. I'm actually capable of turning on a button. So good morning, everyone, or wherever you are in the world, whatever time of day it is for you. The thing I would offer that really strikes me as setting the Digital Economist apart, if you come from a deep technology background, career long, you tend to look at everything from a systems perspective and a design perspective, and very rarely from a people perspective. And the delight of working with the Digital Economist is that everything looks through the technology to see the people who are being served on the other end. And have found that, continue to be amazed by how much that permeates the entire work that we do. So that's probably the high point for me, is simply for the first time in a very long career, as you can tell, uh, I get to work with a group where the emphasis is how we're serving people. So that's enough.
Thank you, Bruce. Appreciate it. So Bruce is joining us from Santa Fe. And Bruce, if you'd like to talk a little bit more about your background as well and kind of what drew you to the Digital Economist, I think that may help our audiences today and answer some of their questions as well.
Sure. So I'm a career-long technology analyst, research analyst with a particular focus over the last 20 years in digital infrastructure, data center, cloud, IoT edge, everything that has to do with how we deliver the digital economy. For much of that time, I've been involved in launching my own magazines, journals, in fields like knowledge management, which is really a precursor, if you will, to everything that we're doing. And I go back to the very beginning of very early mainframe computing, and have covered every single layer of the technology stack in the time in between. So that's a bit of my background.
Thank you, Bruce. Appreciate it. We're starting to see folks introducing themselves. So please feel free to continue to do that. Those of you who just are joining us, great to have you. Welcome again. And with this, I will also give the stage to Jose to introduce himself and tell us a little bit about his experience before we open up for questions in a couple of minutes here.
Thank you. Thanks, Navroop. So my name is Jose Carvalho. I'm originally from Portugal, but based in London, in the UK. I have, I would say, a focus area so I operate between business, technology, and humanity. So my key areas of focus are really to try to bring technology, the latest technology, to resolve business problems, keeping human stakeholders not only in mind, but as a focus. Historically, I have a corporate history, so I've been working in corporates for the last 23 years on the technology side and also on management consultancy side. Very recently, I've been more focused on the areas of innovation for the last 6 to 7 years. And with that also started not only working on my side on the point of thought leadership, but also now working with the Digital Economist, and I'm chairing the Applied AI work group. And what can I say about the Digital Economist? I think Bruce already detailed a bit, but I would say that if we focus on what we are trying to do with the Applied AI work group and the experience I've had so far, has been first and foremost getting a bit of the diversity of perspectives from people that come to the Digital Economist, with everyone adding something and a different perspective from either from a background, an academic background, from a regional background, from a experience background, whatever may be. And we try to actually have our own projects where we get people to support us and to support each other in getting some outputs, but also together as a work group, we are exploring the topic of responsible AI and the readiness of businesses in order to approach AI in a responsible manner. I'll leave it for here now, and obviously we may have some questions coming.
Thank you, Jose. Wonderful. And I think I should add that Bruce chairs our sustainability work group, and a lot of exciting things happening on that front as well, and particularly in the run-up to the UN General Assembly Week, which is coming up in September, where we're convening in New York, and that's around less than 60 days from now. So it's quite exciting. You'll hear a lot more output coming out of a bunch of the work groups within their Digital Economists in the run-up to that. So thank you for that, Jose. I'm mindful of the time, and I'm keen to bring folks up to raise their hands and ask their questions as well. So the first one would be for you, Basma, but let me, before I kind of come to you, ask Océane and Monti to also introduce themselves briefly.
So hello all. So my name is Océane. I'm from France and I just finished my bachelor in finance. I did my first 2 years in France and then the next 2 years in Montreal, Canada. And now I've just finished and it just happens to be that I'm in Denmark. So yeah, I can leave it at that. I'm in the blockchain work group. I'm the convener. So I get to work closely with the chair, which is something that I'm very grateful for. And yeah, I think that's all I'll say for now.
Thank you, Océane. And I think we'll talk a little bit about the upcoming report from the Blockchain and Digital Assets group in a second. But Monty, would you like to go next and introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, my name is Monti. I'm from Botswana, but I'm based in the UK. I just finished my undergrad in economics and econometrics. I'm in the applied AI group for the Digital Economist, and because my main focus is applying AI in education for more personalized learning. So that's sort of exciting because I think, just to keep it brief, I would say that what I find lovely about the Digital Economist is everyone is saying AI is the future, but the lens we're looking at in the Digital Economist is people are the future. We're still keeping that narrative, which is quite rare nowadays. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Monty. All right, so we'll dive right in. Basma, I think you have your hand raised. Please go ahead and ask your question. If there's a specific person from the community that you'd like to, ask a question towards, so feel free to tell us their name as well. Go ahead.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Basma Al-Farsi, and I work in the investment field, specifically the Sovereign Wealth Fund in Kuwait. So my question is that, to be honest, I was attracted to the, let's say, the mission of the Digital Economist. So my question is that now, who are the stakeholders of the project? This is one. And what is the target output? Are we trying to create measurable disruptions that would enhance the AI usage globally? And how can I contribute, given the fact that I have investment background? Thank you.
Thank you, Basma. I think that's a good question for Jose. Chairs the Applied AI Group. Thank you for that question.
Yes, when Basma mentioned the AI, then I realized it could be for me. Yes, so we actually operate in a way that's a bit like Monty said. So I think yes, we all agree that AI is here to be leveraged, and we all agree that we should do it. So, but we all want to do it with a human-centered perspective. And having said that, we actually believe on the usage of technology for overall. We talk about transparency, we talk about democratization of knowledge, we talk about fairness, we talk about diversity. So we kind of want to explore all these areas and put them into a business context where we can help organizations first to be aware on the fact that they can actually use AI in a responsible manner, and then help them into changing the needle into how to do that. So this is one thing that we want to clearly do. We are in an exploration phase where we are trying to look into creating a way of not to measure, in a way to assess or to help organizations to understand where may be the gaps that they may have in order to actually being able to start applying AI in a responsible manner, and then to work with them in that way. From a contribution perspective, for sure, I think one thing that we absolutely need is to make sure that whatever we do is not self-centered, is not inside out. So obviously, we do have a diverse group, but I think as the more we actually expose our ideas to the field, to the market, I think we get that validation. So obviously, if we do that sooner rather than later, then I think that's a great way of evolving, of developing what we are trying to do. So for sure, I would say that this is one of the first steps for our collaboration. It's actually, to bring your perspectives to help us with, another perspective that may augment what we are trying to do. I think this is definitely one of the first steps.
Thank you, Jose, and thank you also for the question, Besma. Appreciate that. Victoria, did you want to go next? I see you unmuted yourself. Do you have a question for any of the fellows or me?
Yes, this is very new to me. So I'm very interested to learn more about what has been involving people from the global south in the past, and also what the expectations are in terms of commitment for the fellowship as well.
Thank you, Victoria. Monty, would you like to take that question? I would contribute to that too, Victoria. I'm born and raised in India, so I check off that box, but I'm somewhere in New York, so maybe we can split the question between Monty and I, both of us, split time between, other parts of the world as well. So,
Sorry,
Nice.
could you please repeat the question? It was just cutting on my side.
Oh, yes. I said what I wanted to learn more about how the group has involved the Global South in the past, and what the commitments are, the expectation for commitments are for participating in the fellowship.
Okay. Yeah, so like Jose said, that we have quite a diverse group in the Digital Economist. So we have people from all over the world. Like for example, in the Applied AI group, we have 2 people who are from Africa. So the lens that we bring is thinking about the global south in terms of the developing countries for all the work that we do. And so that's how we make sure that we also include the global south by having individuals who live there and can write and combine their experience with the work that we're doing, the experience in terms of their living experience there with the work that we're doing, to make sure that we do keep that in mind when we're producing any work. And in terms of commitments, the commitment is it's more teamwork. So each person contributes, and we're also reliant on the other on our team member to make sure that it's a proper group work, and all the perspectives from all the individuals are taken into account. So we meet every week for each group, like the Applied AI group or the governance group. We meet every week, and we're each contributing on a shared document. Just to have everyone's input.
thank you, Monty.
That answers the
Thank
question.
you.
Thank you for the question, Victoria. Mario, good to see you here. Thank you for your questions. I'm curious if Bruce, you'd like to take up some of these from the chat. Mario, if you'd like to, ask your questions yourself, that's good too. And I think some of the more logistics focused, happy to answer and dive in there as well. Please, go ahead.
Oh, thank you, Navroop. So I want to address one of the questions that came up previously relating to capital markets and investment funds. So I do chair the sustainability group. One of the things that I struggle with is that we are moving very, very slowly in terms of forming capital at the scale required in order to meet the IPCC COP 28, 29, 30 objectives for carbon reduction. And that strikes me as being an area where a great deal more attention needs to be focused on how do we convert, in fact, to a circular economy that works for everyone. So I did want to address that if I could. As for other questions that I haven't, let me just see if I can quick answer anything. And now you did notice that that Mark is on?
Yes, yeah. He's on audio only today. as he's in the middle of some work as well. Mark chairs our governance group, so great to have you here, Mark, as well. And maybe, Mario, we can have you ask your questions directly, if you like, and Bruce can respond to some of those right away.
Yeah, so quick background. I work for Skynet. No, I implement AI at scale. And really what I would like to do is understand what are the requirements, ideal qualifications for acceptance. Don't want to waste anybody's time. Want to make sure that if I join in, there's value and there's outcomes. And the second thing is where are the greatest needs, topics, desired outcomes that you guys want to do. Obviously, we're here for a change. We're all rebels in one sense, right? You know, we're disruptors by design. And basically just want to be very outcome focused. You know, for me, what is more important is leverage and focus. The ability to understand where we can deploy resources to provide the most leverage to impact the most outcomes. Third being is the expectations, and obviously being selfish. What are the perks of being part of the Fellowship of the Ring? Thank you.
Thank you, Mario. Maybe Bruce and then Océane can share some insights on that. And Manish, also thank you for your set of questions. I'm going to drop the link to the doc that answers a lot of these and has FAQs, so we don't have to go through these one at a time, and bring other speakers and questions on here as well. So go ahead, Bruce.
So the way I view the executive fellowship is, for lack of a more clear term, it's like a shell around the center of excellence, right? So the idea is the working groups are the people who are actually carrying out a variety of missions, most of which have been self-identified or pre-identified and are being worked on. And what I look to the executive fellowship is to take a much more seasoned look from the outside, particularly from a corporate level, a business level, and suggest to us and participate with us at forming the kinds of projects that we want to take on, the ones that are going to have the greatest impact. One of the things I really like about it is that the time expectation of an executive fellow is not extraordinarily high, but you can contribute as much as you wish to the entire discussion. Wherever your thinking is, as it joins the work of the Center of Excellence and the fellowship in general, is that the Digital Economist elevates it to a global stage very fast. This is the world of the World Economic Forum. This is the world of COP29. It is the world of the UN General Assembly and Climate Week. So, and many more events like that, where we will take a position and where you will be invited to participate at your choice, right? So for me, the idea is, if these are topics that are important to you, you're going to be able to see an impact from the publications and the other media work of the Digital Economist in a way that might not otherwise be available to you.
Thank you, Bruce. And great questions, Mario, of course. I just say.
I would like, yes, I would like to add just something, because Mario, I think one of the things you mentioned was about obviously outcomes and focus, and I think that's actually quite key. I think we in the Applied AI work group, and this is something that is also reflective of how the Digital Economist works. We do have, obviously, you would have your own ideas of your own projects you want to achieve, and I think one of the things could be that you could get access to knowledge from others and support from others in objectives that you may have, and add to your outputs. And at the same time, you could contribute to two ways. One is to other people's own work as well, and potentially find synergies there and define a bit of what kind of outcomes could you actually derive from the collective work you have and the others have. And I think that the third one is what I mentioned before, one of the big work groups of one of the big objectives of the group, creating this kind of a responsible AI approach. This is something that we have with kind of a clear outcome in mind that you would be able to contribute. So I think also having that mindset and always having that mindset would also lead to that focus on the outcomes, and that would also be appreciated. What I would like to add is that you also have the almost implicit benefits. And I'll give you my example, because a lot of the, let's say, the networks that the Digital Economist operates in, Navroop mentioned the UN General Assembly. We also have Davos and the World Economic Forum. They are both arenas where I was already playing as well in my own work. And I can tell you that joining the Digital Economist, I was able to, within even still the same stage, find much more network and actually find people that not just individuals that I hadn't met, but also a particular type of individuals that I hadn't met. And I think this is also one of the great benefits, is actually the ability to find other stakeholders that you can collaborate with, learn from, and teach as well. So, and I think that's kind of one of the key benefits. And I think that the overall mindset of the Digital Economist is really about sharing that knowledge. And I think it's all about people contributing and being empowered by the contributions of others. So I think this is one of the key things that I wanted to mention.
Thank you, Jose. All right, we have a question from Bill.
Let me turn myself on here. There we go. Oop. I'm getting low network bandwidth, so maybe I'll keep it off.
No worries.
There we go. So what are your plans for Climate Week in Davos? I mean, Climate Week is relatively easy to show up, because there's 100 events and all that. As far as your on-site plans and so forth. But Davos is a little trickier because you need a hotel badge to do anything, to get in. So I'm just interested what your on-site plans are for there. Because I think one year you did stuff with Sandy Petlin and Connection Science and all that, which I know you're part of for Davos.
Yeah, I'll take a question, Bill. And then, of course, Jose is a longtime veteran of, the convening SARE as well. So maybe he can add to this as well. So this year, as every year, we bring a number of organizations and delegations to Davos. It's actually a very timely question, Bill, because we kickstarted the Davos sort of like planning group as of yesterday. And this is a bunch of I'm giving you some sort of back-end insights here. These are a bunch of folks who are event owners and venue owners. These are people who are putting together the programming of, for example, New York Times, so on and so forth. And the kind of knowledge sharing every year. The rules change a little bit too. But long story short, we will be bringing delegations. There's going to be a lot more heavier focus on AI as well as sustainability this year in Davos. Then quantum is another big sort of area where we're going to be seeing programming around. And then for our fellows community, again, every year we bring a number of our, I should say, the most of savvy, for the lack of a better term, fellows to the convening around the World Economic Forum each year. So that's kind of the sort of, I guess, who will be participating and how as the form of it, as well as the content. I think the third thing worth mentioning is that we're actually going to be celebrating our 5-year anniversary. So we launched in Davos in 2020, which many of you may or may not know. So we're also interested in, kind of sharing some of our impact reports, as well as Healing a Broken World, which is a follow-up. Thank you, Jonathan, which is a follow-up on our previous book on meeting the climate challenge as well, which you might know we worked with a number of organizations as well, to sort of bring that together, including the technical chapter with IBM. So it's coming together. It's early still, but the sort of the working groups are now in place, and this is going to be a lot more streamlined, a lot more systematic, versus sort of trying to figure out what is where, which is quite intense for Davos, as you know, Bill. I hope I answered your question, but Jose, I think he doesn't. He's very humble. So Jose is actually the co-founder of the SAP's Intelligent Enterprise Institute, which is going to be also spinned off. So a lot of interesting things happening there as well. So that's again a whole different world of corporate enterprise, AI implementation, ERP systems, so on and so forth. So maybe just say you can share a little bit more on that front too.
Yes, for sure. No, thanks, Navroop. Yeah, and Davos plans are also still on the making, but one of the things we typically do, and is actually a collaboration with the WEF Art and Culture Group, but also with the Heimat Museum in Davos itself, where we have an event which we call the Art of Business, where we try to bring the creativity of the art world into a business setting to discuss, again, what I mentioned before, the triangle: business, technology, and humanity. Obviously, art bringing the humanity and the grounding piece to it, where we typically have a few days event of sessions of panels, presentations, networking, and, to be honest, very honest discussions, and where we can actually go a bit off the beaten track of the commercials, but actually to try to resolve some of the world's pressing needs. So for sure, we'll do the same again this year, and also in collaboration with the Digital Economist as well, hopefully. So.
Thank you, Jose. We have a number of questions, Manish, from you. Did you want to ask some of those? I think most of these I answered in the document as well. It seems like you were not able to access it, but maybe you can share with us where you're joining from. But no, the fellowship does not require you to relocate. We want you to be where you are, so we can have the wonderful global network that is represented here. And then we meet at key global moments, as we call them, whether these are Davos or Climate Week, or the fall and the spring meetings of the World Bank and IMF when we are in Washington, DC, et cetera. So we tend to leverage the meeting points of the global community around the world, including COP as well, right? This year we won't be in Azerbaijan, but next year is certainly on the agenda, which is in Brazil. Also this year, since Brazil has the presidency of the G20, it's there's a lot of announcements and initiatives that are coming out from there as well. Go ahead, Tatiana, you have your hand raised.
Hi, first of all, thank you for all the helpful information so far. My question would be, what sort of publications or publication outputs would fellows participate in?
Thank you. Yeah, great question. Let me, Océane, do you want to take a stab at this? And then I'm happy to contribute to that, since you were at the forefront of the Crypto Spring report, which is almost 100 pages at this point. It's a big lift.
Yeah, so it's going to, I feel like a lot of the questions that are related to more specific, kind of the answer is it depends. So yeah, one report that we've been working on and that we've completed, at least writing it, and now it's just in editing, is the Spring Crypto report. And we conducted a lot of interviews where we went to Paris Blockchain Week and Consensus. And this is kind of was the basis for our report. And then obviously all the insights from our fellows within our work group. So there's this type of publication, and then there are articles, opinion pieces, policy briefs. It's quite varied, yeah, at least the type of document that you can write. And then there was a second part to that question. I'm sorry, if you could repeat it.
No, that was it. Thank you.
Okay. If I also have the space. There was another question, I forgot the person's name, but it was on stakeholders. And that's also a question where I would say it depends, because it depends on the project. So for example, for carbon credits, which is a project that I'm working on and that I'm very lucky that the blockchain chair is also has a lot of experience on, and as well the sustainability chair, which is Bruce, also has a lot of experience on. And then the stakeholders here, maybe Bruce will add some, but it would essentially be so corporates, which would be buyers of corporate carbon credits, then it would be governments and regulators for recommendations for them, and then also project owners. So again, I think it's very much project specific, but I would say it's still very community-based. It's targeted towards communities. And I very much resonated with what Bruce was saying at the beginning, that at its essence, we're trying to still serve the community of the world. And I think Jose also echoed that. So I feel like that's the main stakeholder.
Thank you, Océane. We have some questions from Deepika as well, which we would also love to take. Go ahead, Bruce, you have your hand raised. Apologies, just saw it now. Kindly unmute yourself, Bruce.
As I'm surreptitiously looking at LinkedIn profiles of some of our conveners here with us, I want to make sure that when you look at the executive fellowship, you won't see that it is broken down by industry sector specifically. You know, something like AI covers all economic sectors. Sustainability covers all sectors. Blockchain covers all sectors. As an example, blockchain has a vibrant future in healthcare delivery, right? And that's true in every single sector. And one of the things I look for is the use cases that we can represent in the papers that we do write, in the reports that we do write. So I just wanted to add that in so nobody feels like this doesn't pertain to them. This is really everything that is AI, blockchain, Web3, AR, VR, XR media, NFT, cryptocurrency, distributed ledger and distributed organizations, autonomous organizations. So it is really taking the next level of digital transformation of a global economy and expressing it across all fields, right? So that's one of the things I think we will look to the executive fellowship particularly for, is to help us build the use cases in each of the areas we're investigating.
Thank you, Bruce.
Navroop, maybe I can take it. I know that Deepika has some questions there. So about one is about the flexibility, and she apologizes that she's not asking the questions because her network is actually quite spotty, as she says. So one is about flexibility for fellows to have work beyond the focus area that they may choose. And I think here is obviously there's total flexibility in a way, because we actually have, I'm not sure if Ferdinand is in the call, I think I saw him before, is a fellow that we currently have working both on the applied AI, but also on the governance group. And so that can happen. It all depends on your bandwidth and how much you can also dedicate to this. Obviously, if you want to make that investment, I think it can work out nicely. But also informally, or less formally, so not being in both in more than one work group, you can also have topics that somehow cross over a bit. So we have someone in the applied AI group that is looking into, for example, the topic of the impact of AI related activities on data centers and their impact on sustainability, which obviously there's a crossover whilst the person is working on the applied AI work group. there is a connect as well with the sustainability work group, and there's always the potential there for the collaboration. So that's one thing. Then the second question is around the mentorship program, or where are the avenues for fellows and senior fellows to collaborate on publications? And again, so the way we do it, we actually have, beyond our monthly calls as an overall group of the Digital Economist, we have typically weekly calls or almost weekly calls on each work group, where we share both the projects of the group, but also the individual projects. Once you identify what are the individual projects you want to work on, we encourage that you present it to the team. And we try to also highlight who could be, besides the workshare group, a champion that can support that activity. Typically, this is another senior fellow. It doesn't have to be, it can also be another fellow, but there's obviously the opportunity for you to work with a senior fellow on one of the publications. Another way is also just contributing and helping another senior fellow in their own topic, because myself, I have my topics as well. And if there is a need or the desire from your side to, for example, to collaborate with me in some of my papers, that's also something that we kind of open up and encourage for it to happen. So it's all down to the availability, the bandwidth, and then making that connection, which when obviously we as a platform, we make sure that happens.
Thank you, Jose. Appreciate it. And thank you also for your questions here from Deepika. Okay, we have another question from Victoria, and she's asking what sort of innovation pathways are available to take reports that have an operational tick to it. Great question, Victoria. Would anybody like to take that question? Bruce, Jose, Monti, Océane?
I'll jump into it if I may. If I understood the question, it is, how do we operationalize the content that we develop? Is it simply thought leadership, or is it actually an operational plan? And I would say that's probably an area where we haven't paid enough attention, because we're so, and again, if we're going to say that we're accessible and people-centered, human-centered, we also have to be organizational-centered. I think probably AI comes as close to operationalizing the AI work groups, is probably senses more how it can operationalize. I'm in the process now of editing a long report on blockchain and digital assets, and I will say that that will have great value to people who are trying to incorporate it into their operations and understanding the salient differences between blockchain 3.0 and blockchain 4.0, the version that is just now emerging. So did I answer the question correctly?
Yeah, feel free to jump in here if your question's answered, Victoria. I do want to add something there as well from our sort of operational perspective, in the sense that we don't just stop at writing the report, but we, starting 2022, we launched something called the Digital Economist Ventures. And these are initiatives that are curated where there's a solution or for a platform or a product that is clearly recognized. And these in turn then become one of our ventures. At the moment, there are 5, so it's quite exciting. We're also working on a fund potentially joining this as well in order to catalyze the development of these initiatives and supercharge them. Bruce's response obviously is kind of looking at sort of a broader world where we can't just talk and write papers. And a point here is that, we're not another think tank to just, endlessly, I think, scrutinize the problem. But we describe ourselves as a think and do tank. And what that means is that we go well over and beyond doing the typical activities of a think tank, which are to, convene and write and publish, but also actively advocate, again, in a politically neutral way, for a better human-centered world, and we take these innovations and initiatives out. So for those of you who whose interest is not just research and papers, I think this is a great place to be, because we really see ourselves as an innovation ecosystem versus a think tank based out of DC as well. So if that's okay, I will go ahead and drop some links to some of these platforms, so you can explore it in your time as well. And these are, by the way, there's a slight snapshots of these that are available in the deck that we also just shared, for the fellowship program. Just FYI for everyone, this has been something that has been quite closed door, in the sense that we would invite people ourselves that we knew, whose work we knew, into the program. And now it's in the 6th cohort, and we're actually for the first time opening a public call like this, because we think there is an opportunity, A, to expand this work, and B, it's almost necessary to do it, given how quickly, whether it's blockchain, Web3 technologies, as well as AI is moving. So it's important and it's imperative to catalyze these. And so, these, and that's why you kind of have some of these, documentation available in a slightly more secure way. I'm dropping the links also to some of our ventures, so please feel free to have a look. And yeah, Victoria, to kind of just summarize my response to your question on what those innovation pathways are that take the reports from the thought leadership in it and the policy recommendations in it to more operationalization, is the venture studio of the Digital Economist. Great. Any other questions for us? There are 3 links for the ventures. There's a few questions here from Manish. Go ahead, Océane. I will bring those up after you speak.
Yeah, it was just because I remember there were quite a few questions as well on the perks. So I was going to add one. And that would be that it's a very good, the think tank, the fact that we're a part of a think tank is a very good, let's say it brings credibility as well when you want to interview other industry leaders, which is something that obviously everyone has a limited time. And so especially if there are people with a lot of responsibilities, then it can obviously be a barrier if you're just a random person. But if you have the credibility of a mission and a think tank, then you're also given an easier access to interview and to speak with other industry leaders or people that have insights into what is happening now and the innovations that are happening now. Because I mean, when you read a lot of reports, it's great to learn a lot, but sometimes it can lack a little bit of tangible understanding of what is actually happening. So that is another perk.
Thank you, Océane. I would also love to share the report here. Sorry, not the report, but the introductory deck of the Digital Economist with all of you, which has a slight overview of the ventures, as well as our ecosystem more broadly as well. So please feel free to access that. It's everything is through Docs, and so it may ask for your email, but you should be able to see these with a valid email. We have around 10 more minutes in the meeting. Again, this is your space, so we've come together to answer your questions and your queries. So please feel free to raise your hand, ask your questions. If you can't speak, you can drop these in the chat and we'll take those up as well. But the floor is open.
I can't find the raise my hand thing, but can I ask a question real quick?
Go ahead.
What kind of conferences are normally privy to being in a digital economist organization, like what type of opportunities, conferences, places to speak, conferences to speak. I'm actually, you and I actually, I texted you earlier, you and I actually met a long time ago at the Denver Global Conference on Education. We were speaking on a panel together, but
Good to see you here.
yeah. Do you know like what those opportunities look like, being the fact that, and you probably remember I'm in the education space, and so I wasn't sure if that kind of was, we're trying to build tech to include AI and some more things, and move what we're doing in the education space to that platform and get some other tech built right now. So just wanted to kind of know a couple of those things.
Yeah, great question, Jay. Can I answer by first saying there's almost 100 opportunities around the year when it comes to the number of conferences. There's some of the moments we talked about, the key global moments is when the community really kind of galvanizes around certain topics, right? So for Davos, it's sort of the global agenda, policy agenda. For UNGA, it's the climate agenda, et cetera. But throughout the year, there will be so many more as well. Right at the beginning of the fellowship as well, we will send sort of a list of opportunities for you to kind of, tap into as well. But again, from a ed tech perspective, there's quite a bit happening, particularly figuring out, AI there as well. But I want to share some more links with you, Jay, and maybe Jose, you'd like to take that question too, since you've joined some of these, and maybe Océane as well around the world. We can kind of give some more concrete examples, right?
I think it's very fair to say that there have been more opportunities than people to fill them. So I actually think that there's been a lot of opportunities for us to go into different events. So obviously, since I joined the Digital Economist, and I said before, whilst I did have my own network, and whilst I had also similar areas of network, there's always more things that are happening around. So there was one common one that we've actually been had the chance to meet some of the team that is here, like Navroop and Océane in Tangier, in Morocco, which is also a beautiful business, where the Digital Economist not only participated but also delivered a workshop. So there was the opportunity for some of the members to actually to deliver a discussion about education, leveraging AI for education in Africa, and Monti was also present. We also, being based in London, had the opportunity, in fact, to go to during the Climate Week in London to the Climate Investment Summit, which was also quite interesting. And that clearly, I can say that I wouldn't have gone if it hadn't been for the Digital Economists Network. So it gave me the opportunity, even if I'm not on the sustainability group, obviously Bruce is, but it was important for me to go from two perspectives. One, to be able to also represent the Digital Economist, but also a lot of the focus was on technology. It was about how to actually leverage technology and potentially use it to gather funding for sustainability purposes. So I think that was quite an interesting area where things can actually be so multidisciplinary in this type of events. So, but there are so many others, right? So I think so many other people in the team have been going to different events that I'm pretty sure that it's a matter of availability and wanting to be part of one of those.
Thank you, Jose. Océane, did you want to add any more?
Yes, so I'm more aware of the ones for the blockchain work group, but the first one that I went to was Paris Blockchain Week, which was over a week. But just before that, there was also a few days on AI. And then there were many others that were shared, but that I did not go to. There was one in Spain, one in Toronto on blockchain, all on the topic of blockchain, and quite a few others that I cannot remember now, but that are offered to us. And then I was also, I was able to join in Tangier as well. So that is not specifically related to blockchain. It's more related to innovation and how to do business and a lot of other human values. So that's also nice that we can make links and go to events that aren't maybe directly linked to blockchain, for example, or AI, but that still have value.
Thank you, Océane. I think it's worth mentioning, I just shared a whole bunch of links. Sorry, I didn't want to overwhelm folks here. But we have a number of partnerships with large-scale event organizers. They also commission some of these studies, which then in turn go to thousands of people that they have on their attendee list, and both thought leaders, speakers, as well as participants. So you can kind of see there's a symbiotic relationship here. And the events that fellows join are free for them to join. We don't cover the travel costs, but you won't have to pay the ticket. Or at least so far, that has not happened. If there's an exception to that, we will mark it as such before and as we share these. And then, again, this is kind of coming back to Jose's point, is we're actually quite overwhelmed with the degree of access we have internally too, with the operations team kind of constantly compiling these for the fellows community. So, you're going to be busy, I would say, and there will be plenty of access and plenty of opportunities to pursue your passions, to do your work, to talk to the right stakeholders who have and build the access. We're pretty much 2 degrees away, not more than that, of touching anywhere, any person in the world, right? If we don't know, let's say even the prime minister's office in a certain country, then we know someone who does. So this is not to say that we only talk to prime minister's office. Point being, that's I think kind of the access, both in terms of our work as well as the dissemination of it is it's quite interesting, and for our own selves, it's continues to surprise us. For example, last year we did an event with Invest India, which is the investment arm of the government of India. It's the main body for promoting investing in India. So that's a contact from Davos, which Bill, you might also know about if you've been there. But we launched a paper called Capital for the Common Good, which is actually on our landing page as we speak. And the idea being, how do we actually move capital to the global south to address the big climate challenge, as well as the deficit, if you may, which Bruce originally talked about in his first comment as well. So, we involve key stakeholders, again, kind of coming back to questions earlier that were asked there as well on this. And, we are constantly ensuring that we kind of tap into the highest levels of decision makers as possible in these initiatives. So we kind of have that bias, for the lack of a better term, hopefully a good bias, because that helps us kind of expand the work and get into places that otherwise would not be possible. Hopefully that answers your question, Jay, and with some of the examples here as well. There is a question from
No, I was going to, if you want to take the question first, it's fine. I wanted to make a comment, an additional comment, but if you want to take the other question first, that's fine.
It's okay, please go ahead.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to make, because this probably was a question that I had before joining, right? And kind of, I figured that this could potentially be useful for everyone considering this as well. And it's very operational, but it's about the time commitment and about how do we actually work within the groups. So, when you see the documentation that Navroop has sent, you have a certain time commitment for the monthly meetings. I mentioned as well that we have weekly meetings. So, all of this operates in a way that, for me, the key, rather than the time that you actually spend beyond that minimum, it's about the engagement, right? So that's the important measure for me. And the way, what I mean by this is that we have these weekly calls, and they are set on a given time. And we absolutely know that not everyone can attend them or every week at the same time and so forth. So I can even say that last week I couldn't attend my own call, so someone else was actually sharing it for me. So, but what we typically do is we always record the call, and then we always have our Slack channel where we collaborate, and we can do it on an asynchronous manner. And the importance of the engagement is about that, right? So, for example, I couldn't make my call. I went to the recording, I saw the recording, I saw the notes that came out of it, check, if I have any action, if there's anything that I can contribute to. So I think this is kind of the importance of it, rather than the time and the schedule itself, is actually the engagement and being able to kind of somehow be participative with the group.
Thank you, Jose. Important point, of course, operationally as well. There's maybe one last question that we can take from Tutu, and if that's okay, or Tutus, I'm sorry. And then go ahead, Monty. Do you want to take that question from the chat? And basically we'll wind up after that. And then we have the Innovare Development Foundation. The Slack channel is internal to the fellows community. Whoever's joining here, sorry, I don't have your name. Yeah, that's not a public channel at the moment. Go ahead, Monty.
Thank you. I'm sorry if my voice sounds. I'm just recovering from COVID. I just got COVID last week. But yeah, so the highlight from the experience of the fellowship is it's quite interesting, because you can, when you work in silos, you think that there's not many people who are passionate about the problems, the major problems in that's facing the world. And when you join, my experience has been that I've seen so many people who are genuinely passionate about solving the major problems of the world. And that has been, it's reignited the optimism and the hope that I have within me, and even increased my drive to actually tackle these most pressing problems, like for example, education. And also when you talk to the other fellows, you realize the endless possibilities of or like what's possible. That honestly, if you can think of something, a solution, and you think maybe it's out of reach or it's not possible, and then you talk to one of the fellows, you realize, oh, this is actually possible. They knew something that I didn't know that can actually help with tackling the problem, and it's a small step. And also the power of collaboration it can be the difference between linear growth and exponential growth. And that's what's happening here at the group. So that's been my highlight and experience. As I just entered the business world, I've really learned that the power of collaboration is immensely powerful. And also that there's an endless amount of good things that can happen with technology. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Monty. Appreciate it. I'm curious if the other fellows would like to take the same question. I think it's for the whole group, and basically we'll wind up after that.
I think on my slide, sorry, Bruce. Well, now I got on my slide. I think I've already mentioned it somehow implicitly. I think the realization that our network can increase and in a way that you always obtain new perspectives and new areas to collaborate, I think was immense. So I really felt that now I was able to add to my own network and to my own daily life or daily working life that personas and individuals that bring me a completely different perspective on certain topics. And Monty mentioned about the AI, somehow all of us thinking of a greater good, but from some different angles. And I think that's been my highlight so far.
Thank you.
I have to say that what occurs to me is how my own thinking, while I may have had a glimmer of an idea in the back of my mind, and I'll give you an example. Climate change is now being an enormous driver of migration, climate migration, people fleeing drought, people fleeing disease, and it's only going to increase. And that is a root cause that is not substantially looked at by policymakers when they're considering policy on immigration. these are populations in many cases that have absolutely no choice, right? And yet we see it as somehow a policy that relates to our protecting our borders from the outside. Well, while I may have had an idea around that, I got to really, with help, explore what that means in terms of unfair labor practices, what it means in terms of essentially neo-slavery, if you will, what it means in terms of human trafficking and the possibilities, and the crimes that go associated with that. So all of a sudden, the issues around climate change got elevated into a new realm that would not have been apparent to me other than I had identified it perhaps in my mind. And all of a sudden, I have a topic that I wish to expand my own network in, because it's going to be vitally important to understand this from a policy and governance standpoint, right? So that's to me a definite perk of an engagement.
Thank you, Bruce. Océane, would you like to take that question briefly, and we'll close the Q&A after that?
Yes, I'll do a quick answer. So I think Monti explained it quite well. I think better than I would have. So I share what Monti has said, and of course everyone else. But maybe for me, it would be the insights from the other fellows and the chair. I'm quite lucky that carbon credits, which is the topic that I wanted to really explore. I have a lot of other people in the group that have insights on and have experience and critical thinking on that topic. So for me, it's very valuable in that sense. And then being able to see other fellows, their projects and their kind of thought process with those with their projects or with other projects, and then the opportunity to as well contribute to a project that may not be completely my own, but that is maybe someone else's, and that I get to explore a topic that I by myself would not have thought of or would have wanted to explore if it was only up to me. But then I get an opportunity to. So that would be for me.
Thank you, Océane. I think that brings us to a close for today. If I were to add to that, I would say that we're actually doing a small press release later today, and we've decided, given the interest, we've hundreds of applications, to keep the cycle open until August 15th. But essentially, this ongoing intellectual community, this touch point that you have that is very action oriented, is a big plus, right? Versus having to figure things out in sort of our own spaces with our own jobs, et cetera. So not just, again, another club, another think tank, but I think a much more anchored community as we sort of meet them in places around the world in person as well, but ongoing from a virtual perspective as well. So we hope to welcome some of you who joined us today as well. Please look out for the press release as well. This is an open session, so we don't necessarily have your emails or such. So please, if there's something, we can send your way, feel free to drop an email or reach us at info@thedigital-economist.com. And we're very excited. Thank you again for your questions, for your engagement, for joining us today, for taking the time. And I also want to thank both our senior fellows as well, both of our fellows for joining and sharing their insights. I got to learn a lot as well. So I think that's a wonderful thing as well. So thank you all, and we'll see you.
Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone.